Do you know why Apple, Nike, and Samsung are quietly abandoning China? While you still think made in China is permanent, these giants have already begun the largest industrial migration in modern history. Today, I'll reveal the nearshoring revolution that 90% of the world's population doesn't know about. A revolution that's completely reshaping the global economic map and creating once-in-a-millennium opportunities for countries like Vietnam, Mexico, and Indonesia. Listen to this. From 2020 to 2023, over $100 billion in investment has been moved out of China. Apple has shifted 25% of iPhone production to India. Nike reduced 60% of its manufacturing in China. Samsung completely shut down its phone factories there. Sound familiar? This is exactly what happened to Japan's textile industry in the 1980s and South Korea's electronics sector in the early 2000s. History is repeating itself, but this time with a scale 10 times larger. But why is this happening right now? Who's really behind this massive migration? And most importantly, why has Vietnam become one of the hottest destinations for this wave? The truth that governments and major corporations don't want you to know is this isn't just about economics. This is the biggest geopolitical battle of the 21st century, where small countries like ours can become kingmakers deciding the future of the global economy. After hearing what I'm about to share, you'll understand why Made in China is becoming history, which countries will win big in this revolution, what investment opportunities are waiting for you, and how to leverage this wave for yourself. Most importantly, you'll never look at global supply chains the same way again. Let me be straight with you. Nearshoring isn't a new trend. It's an old-as-dirt strategy that multinational corporations have used for decades. But what made it explode in the past 3 years? The answer lies in 3 words: perfect storm. COVID-19, the US-China trade war, and the Russia-Ukraine conflict created a perfect storm that forced CEOs to wake up from their globalization at all costs dream. Let's analyze this cycle in 4 stages. Stage 1 from 1990 to 2010 was called centralization, when China became the world's factory with extremely low labor costs and corporations rushed to invest. Stage 2 from 2010 to 2020 was optimization, when companies maximized cost efficiency through just-in-time manufacturing models and became completely dependent on a single source. Stage 3 from 2020 to 2022 was vulnerability exposed, when COVID-19 revealed weaknesses, supply chain breakdowns occurred, and awareness of concentration risks awakened. And Stage 4 from 2023 to now is the diversification revolution, when nearshoring exploded. China plus one strategy became mainstream, and de-risking became the new black. While the media talks about benefits for everyone, the reality is this game only has a few real winners. Tier 1 winners are countries with existing infrastructure like Mexico near the US, Vietnam near China with low labor costs, and Eastern Europe near the EU. Tier 2 winners are logistics corporations like FedEx, DHL, Maersk, those who control the highways of goods. Tier 3 winners are investment funds like BlackRock and Vanguard that positioned early, along with industrial real estate funds. But don't celebrate too quickly. Nearshoring is also a double-edged sword. Beneficiary countries must face inflation risks from capital flowing in too fast, infrastructure bottlenecks when infrastructure can't keep up, labor shortages of skilled workers, and environmental costs from pollution and resource depletion. That's why not every country can successfully ride this wave. COVID-19 did something no economic crisis had ever done: force CEOs to look straight at the greedy nature of the efficiency at all costs model. Imagine you're the CEO of Apple. On the morning of February 13, 2020, you wake up to a report. Sir, the entire supply chain in China is shut down. iPhone production, 0. That's when these geniuses realized they had put all their eggs in one basket. Not because they were stupid, but because they were so intoxicated with profit margins that they forgot the most basic risk management. The system's tactics unfolded in 4 steps. Step 1 was create dependency. From 1990, corporations were encouraged to outsource to China. China's WTO membership in 2001 was like a feast for CEOs, and there was a race to the bottom in labor costs. Step 2 was optimized to death through just-in-time inventory, single-source supplier strategies, and lean and mean operations. Step 3 was create illusion of stability. With 30 years without major supply disruption, CEOs believing efficiency equals resilience and risk assessment becoming an academic exercise. Step 4 was reality check. When COVID-19 hit, supply chains collapsed like dominoes, and efficient suddenly became fragile. Signs of transition began with early signals from 2020 to 2021 when Apple started testing production in India, Nike quietly increased Vietnam production, and Samsung explored alternatives to China. The acceleration phase from 2022 to 2023 witnessed massive capital reallocation, government incentives pouring in, and China Plus One becoming mainstream. The current phase from 2024 to now is full-scale restructuring with new supply chain maps emerging and winner-take-all competition for FDI. You think this is a natural market decision? Think again. The U.S. government, through the CHIPS Act and Inflation Reduction Act, provided $300 billion in incentives to move manufacturing back to America. Tariffs and sanctions created the stick, and national security narratives justified everything. The Chinese government, with its dual circulation strategy, realized dependency was also a risk for them, focused on the domestic market, and pushed for technology self-reliance. The EU, with its strategic autonomy agenda, wanted to reduce dependency on critical materials. The Green Deal created new supply chain requirements, and geopolitical tensions with Russia added urgency. Multinational corporations pursued risk-adjusted profit maximization with ESG requirements from shareholders, insurance costs for concentrated risks skyrocketing, and customer pressure for ethical sourcing. This isn't the first time this has happened. Look at the Japanese manufacturing exodus in the 1980s, with high yen, aging workforce, and environmental concerns that moved production to Southeast Asia and made Japan a design and high-tech hub. Korean chaebol restructuring in the 1990s when financial crisis forced diversification. Manufacturing went to Vietnam and China, and Korea focused on innovation and branding. German Mittelstand strategy in the 2000s kept R&D in Germany, moved assembly to Eastern Europe, and maintained quality control and IP. The pattern is clear. No country stays as the world's factory forever. China is going through exactly this process. In 2019, the U.S.-China trade war began with 25% tariffs. In 2022, China's lockdowns paralyzed global supply chains. In 2022, the Russia-Ukraine conflict disrupted energy and raw materials. In 2023, tensions around Taiwan reached new heights. The result? CEOs realized manufacturing isn't just about cost, but also about geopolitical stability. Many people mistakenly think this is a story about democracy versus authoritarianism. The truth is much more complex. Singapore is a major manufacturing hub without being a democracy. Vietnam is communist but welcomes Western investment. Saudi Arabia attracts massive FDI despite human rights concerns. It's really about predictability. Do you see the pattern? Investors don't need perfect democracy. They need stable rules of the game. When a country suddenly changes laws, uses economic tools for political purposes, or creates an unpredictable business environment, capital will flow away regardless of ideology. The risk premium revolution has changed the calculation. Previously, risk assessment for manufacturing locations only considered labor costs, infrastructure quality, regulatory environment, and tax incentives. Now they must add geopolitical stability scores, sanctions risk assessment, supply chain vulnerability mapping, and friend-shoring compatibility. The old formula was total cost equals production cost plus logistics cost plus regulatory cost. The new formula is total cost, production cost plus logistics cost, regulatory cost plus geopolitical risk premium, plus business continuity insurance, reputation risk. That's why even when China's costs remain competitive, many companies still choose to diversify. Many people think geopolitics only affects big corporations. Completely wrong. Job opportunities in manufacturing will shift, real estate prices in industrial zones will fluctuate, stock prices of logistics companies will be volatile, and currency exchange rates will be affected. If you don't understand this game, you'll invest in wrong sectors, miss out on new opportunities, get caught in trade war crossfire, and lose money when supply chains shift unexpectedly. Vietnam is in the sweet spot of multiple trends. China Plus One strategy needs alternatives. ASEAN integration creates larger markets, young population meets demographic dividend, and government stability attracts long-term investment. But don't think this is guaranteed success. History is littered with countries that missed their golden window. Vietnam's smart strategy is, we're not trying to replace China. Instead of direct competition, focus on specific sectors like electronics, textiles, and furniture, complement rather than compete with China's strengths, position as an assembly hub for Chinese components, and maintain good relationships with both the US and China. Vietnam's bamboo diplomacy means flexible but rooted. Vietnam learned from South Korea's balanced approach during the Cold War, Singapore's pragmatic neutrality, and Thailand's survival through multiple conflicts. Vietnam's advantages include location with proximity to China, making it easy to relocate existing supply chains, access to Southeast Asian markets with 600 million consumers, coastline advantages for shipping, and time zone compatibility with East Asian business hours. The demographic sweet spot includes an average age of 30, large working age population, improving English proficiency, and manufacturing experience from previous FDI waves. Policy consistency from Doi Moi reforms since 1986, WTO membership since 2007, multiple free trade agreements, and stable currency management. But Vietnam also faces hidden challenges. Infrastructure bottlenecks make Vietnam's infrastructure like highways with toll booths every kilometer, power shortages in industrial zones, port congestion during peak seasons, limited rail connectivity, and internet bandwidth issues for high-tech manufacturing. Skills gap reality includes limited engineering talent compared to China-India, language barriers for complex technical documentation, limited management experience for large-scale operations, and still developing quality control systems. Environmental constraints include water shortages in key industrial provinces, air pollution in major cities, waste management challenges, and climate change impacts on infrastructure. The real winner-take-all competition isn't just about Vietnam. Mexico has USMCA advantages for the U.S. market. India has massive domestic markets and English advantages. Indonesia has the largest population in Southeast Asia. And Bangladesh has even lower labor costs. Vietnam needs to maintain its edge through continuous infrastructure investment, education system improvements, regulatory environment optimization, and diplomatic balance maintenance. Remember Thailand and Malaysia's miracle years? Early 1990s massive FDI inflows, mid-1990s infrastructure couldn't keep up, late 1990s Asian financial crisis hit. Result: missed opportunity to become developed economies. Current warning signs include real estate speculation in industrial zones, labor costs rising faster than productivity, accelerating environmental degradation, and widening income inequality. Vietnam has roughly a 10-year window to avoid this trap. Media focuses on manufacturing relocations. Smart money focuses on port expansion projects, industrial real estate development, logistics and warehousing facilities, and power generation and distribution. During the California gold rush, fortunes weren't made by gold miners like James Marshall, who discovered gold at Sutter's Mill. They were made by people like Levi Strauss selling jeans to miners, or Samuel Brannan selling picks and shovels. Similarly, the biggest nearshoring profits will come from equipment suppliers to new factories, construction companies building facilities, software providers for supply chain management, and training and consulting services. The wealth creation mechanism unfolds in 4 stages. Stage 1, capital flows, sees foreign investment flooding into winner countries, real estate prices surging in industrial zones, local currencies strengthening, and stock markets rallying. Stage 2, economic multiplier, brings job creation in manufacturing, service sector expansion to support workers, accelerated infrastructure development, and increased tax revenues for government spending. Stage 3, value chain upgrade, sees countries moving from assembly to manufacturing, R&D centers beginning to relocate, local companies developing technical capabilities, and export products becoming more sophisticated. Stage 4, innovation hub formation, adopts advanced manufacturing technologies, develops local talent pools, creates startup ecosystems around manufacturing, and helps countries become the next China for certain sectors. Tier 1 government sovereign funds like Singapore's GIC and Temasek leading the charge. Norway's sovereign fund taking massive positions, and Chinese state funds hedging their bets are controlling the money flow. Tier 2 private equity giants include KKR, Blackstone, and Carlyle focusing on industrial real estate, Brookfield targeting infrastructure plays, and TPG investing in supply chain technology. Tier 3 multinational corporate ventures include Apple, Google, and Microsoft making direct investments, Samsung and TSMC relocating facilities, and German industrial companies following their customers. Investment traps to avoid include the Thailand trap with overinvestment in low-value manufacturing, the Brazil trap where bureaucracy kills competitive advantage, the India trap where infrastructure can't support ambitions, and the Mexico trap of being too dependent on U.S. economic cycles. Immediate winners in 12 to 18 months are industrial real estate REITs, logistics and transportation companies, construction and engineering firms, and port operators and shipping lines. Medium-term winners in 2 to 5 years include manufacturing equipment suppliers, industrial automation companies, supply chain software providers, and trade finance and insurance companies. Long-term winners in 5 to 10 years are local technology companies in winner countries, education and training service providers, environmental technology companies, and advanced materials manufacturers. Nearshoring is not a trend. It's a structural shift that will create a new geography of global wealth over the next 2 decades. Countries that position themselves correctly will see GDP growth rates of 7 to 9% annually, FDI inflows of tens of billions yearly, currency appreciation of 3 to 5% per year, and stock market returns exceeding 20% annually. Countries that miss this window will remain commodity exporters, low-value service providers, and recipients rather than drivers of global value chains. Now you understand the truth that 90% of people in the world still don't realize. Made in China isn't ending because China is weakening. It's ending because the world has matured and no longer accepts single points of failure in global supply chains. This nearshoring revolution isn't a zero-sum game. It's an expansion of global prosperity if countries know how to play. For investors, diversify across nearshoring winners, focus on infrastructure and logistics plays, avoid pure manufacturing stocks because margins will compress, and think in decades, not quarters. For businesses, start planning supply chain diversification now, build relationships in multiple countries, invest in supply chain visibility technology, and don't put all eggs in one basket again. For individuals, develop skills relevant to global supply chains, learn languages of emerging manufacturing hubs, consider relocating to opportunity zones, and build networks in international trade. History shows us that revolutions like this only have a golden window of about 10 to 15 years. After that, new equilibrium forms and opportunities dry up. We're in year 3 of this revolution. The window is still open, but not forever. In this changing world, knowledge is not just power, it's profit. Don't let others get ahead while you're still thinking, made in China. Will last forever. The future is being written right now. Make sure you're part of the story, not just watching from the sidelines.